there are things called conditioned things. Because of the union of many causes, things arise. Because they arise dependent on causes and conditions, will they last forever? Are they eternal? No. Why? When causes change, the effects also change. Our thought process is something that constructs the conditioned. Ignorance means not knowing the Four Noble Truths. As a result, all beings have to suffer enormously. So think about this excellent knowledge, wisdom of the Supreme Buddha. Now we go to universities, we go to schools, we pass many exams. Is there any teacher that who could explain the life in this way? Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo Buddhaya. Venerable Mahasangha and meritorious lay disciples, now we are going to listen to a very beautiful, powerful, excellent sutta. Supreme Buddha preached this discourse about 2600 years ago. This sutta became very significant even after the Buddha, after the first council happened in India. 3 months after, 3 months after the passing away of the Buddha, the first council took place. Second council after 100 years after the passing of the Buddha, and then 230 years after the passing of the Buddha, the third council took place. Arahant Mahinda Bhante brought the supreme teaching to Sri Lanka. So Arahant Mahinda Bhante taught this sutta to the Sri Lankans. Having heard this sutta, many hundreds and thousands of Sri Lankans attained enlightenment. So this is a very powerful sutta. Now we are going to learn that sutta. Now we know very clearly that Supreme Buddha was born into this world in order to realize a significant truth. What is that truth? The Four Noble Truths. When Supreme Buddha strived to realize the Four Noble Truths, the Blessed One understood that this world is covered with a hard shell. Lives of all beings have been covered with a hard shell. What is that hard shell? Ignorance. Ignorance means not knowing the Four Noble Truths. As a result, all beings have to suffer enormously. Most of the times, beings dwell in bad destinations, in hell, animal world, and ghost world. Even though very rarely they come to human world and heavenly world, they still suffer a lot. Supreme Buddha realized the noble truth of suffering. Then, with extraordinary knowledges, Supreme Buddha taught the excellent Dhamma with the intention of awakening other beings, human beings and heavenly beings. In order to be enlightened, to escape from this cycle that is full of suffering, Supreme Buddha taught that one should understand the noble truth of suffering very well. One should understand the noble truth of suffering. That understanding helps the disciples to eradicate the cause of suffering, the second noble truth. That understanding of the noble truth of suffering supports beings to attain the end of suffering, the cessation of suffering. Which understanding? The understanding of the suffering leads to abandon the cause of suffering and to attain the cessation of suffering. If one does not understand what suffering is in this life, one won't understand the rest of the noble truths. The same understanding of the noble truth of suffering in death will lead the disciples to follow the way leading to the end of suffering. If one does not understand the inherent suffering of this life, one won't make efforts to stop suffering. Because he doesn't know that this life is full of suffering. One may think that there is something in this life that we should enjoy and delight in. What is the point of following a way to end suffering for that person? That is why understanding the noble truth of suffering is very significant in the teachings of the Buddha. So this sutta basically elaborates the noble truth of suffering in details. The Blessed One was dwelling at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove at Anathapindika's park. One day, the Blessed One addressed the bhikkhus. Bhikkhus, those ascetics and Brahmins who recollect their manifold past abodes, past lives, all recollect the 5 aggregates of clinging, or a certain one among them. Those people, if somebody has developed a special knowledge to recollect one's past lives, one will always recollect what can they recollect as their past lives. The 5 aggregates of clinging, or a certain one, certain aggregate among them as the life. Supremad explains the meaning of this statement. What 5? When recollecting thus, because I had such form in the past, it is just form that one recollects. This is a very beautiful teaching. When recollecting, one will recollect. How? I had such form in the past. I was a king. Many lives ago, I was a king. Form means the body. I had a body of a king. I had a body of a prince. I had a body of a princess. It is just form that one recollects. I had a body of a beggar. I had a body of a merchant. I had a body of a being in hell. I had a body of a lion. I had a body of an elephant. I had a body of a snake. I had a body of a fish. I had a body of a bird. I had a body of a worm. What can they recollect? It is just body or form aggregate that one recollects. Now we can't recollect our past lives because we don't have that concentration. But Supreme Buddha says, if one can recollect, one will see this. There one will understand, oh, I had a body of a king, but it also was subject to change. It also faced aging. That body of a wealthy person became otherwise. That body also perished, died, and disappeared. Okay? Supreme Buddha teaches, When recollecting, I had such a feeling in the past. It is just feeling that one recollects. What can one recollect? Feelings. When they recollect past lives, how I lived in the past, what kind of things I did in the past. When they recollect, they can see, oh, I experienced pleasant feelings, unpleasant feelings, neutral feelings. As the life, what can they see? Feelings, arising of feelings and passing away of feelings. I was experiencing. Now suppose now one recollects, okay, and one will see, oh, now I am experiencing this happiness. Oh, what happened? It changes. Oh, no, I don't have that happiness anymore. It is just feeling that one recollects. When recollecting, I had such a perception in the past. It is just perception that one recollects. How did I live in the past? What kind of things I did? How did I enjoy this life? Okay, one recollects and then understands. I perceived beautiful things. I perceived sweet sounds. I perceived sweet smells. I perceived tastes. I perceived comfortable touches, tangibles. I perceived thoughts, beautiful things. But they didn't last for long. It is just perception one recollects. When recollecting, I had such volitional formations in the past. It is just volitional formations that one recollects. What does one recollect? Volitional formations means thoughts. When I lived in the past, what did I think? Oh, as a king, I was thinking these wonderful thoughts. But they disappear soon. As a child, I was thinking these beautiful, beautiful things. But they also changed. I became a young man. Then I reached old age. Changing. Constant change of volitions, thoughts. Okay? Think about this knowledge of the Supreme Buddha. When recollecting, I had such consciousness in the past. It is just consciousness that one recollects. When I lived in the past, what kind of things did I cognize? Through my ears, sounds, nose, tongue, body and mind, what kind of things did I cognize? Where did I go to see beautiful things? When one recollects, it is just consciousness. I cognized beautiful things in the world, but they didn't last long. See, this is the meaning. When one recollects their manifold past lives, all recollect the 5 aggregates of clinging. What are the 5 aggregates? Form, feeling, perception, volitional formations, and consciousness, or a certain one among them. But can they recollect something permanent that they experienced? No. The more they recollect their past lives, the more changing nature they will understand. Then Supreme Buddha explains the 5 aggregates of clinging, or in another word, our life, in a very scientific way, so that disciples can investigate thoroughly. And why, bhikkhus, do you call it form? Now there is a name for this body. What is that name? Form. F-O-R-M, form. What is the Pali word? Rupa. So here Rupa means not only visible objects that we see, but also this body is known as Rupa. Why do we call this body form? Ruppatiti bhikkhave rupam tasma rupanti uchchati. It is deformed because, therefore it is called form. How is that word derived? It is deformed. Do you know the meaning of deform? It is subject to destruction. Ruppatiti rupa. It is subject to destruction, perishing, vanishing, changing. Therefore it is called form. Deformed by what? Deformed by cold. In the winter, if you go outside without jackets, boots and hats, form will destroy, disappear, vanish. This body. We regard this body as mine, myself, and I am. But when we go outside, where is that I am? Where is that self? Where is that boss or owner of the body? Silent. Will die. Deformed by heat. Now soon we will have to turn on the air conditioner. Otherwise, this form will be deformed and we will have to suffer a lot. You will have to use fans to fan, using books, papers. See? That's why that body has got that name, form. It is deformed. Deformed means form will turn into a distorted thing completely. Distorted thing. We will have pale faces, swearing, sweating, and lot of problems. This body we appreciate. Deformed by hunger. That's why we gave breakfast dana to you. Otherwise, you would feel sleepy, right? And very weak. Deformed by thirst. We will give you gilampasa. Okay. Deformed by contact with flies, mosquitoes, the wind, sun and serpents. Don't people suffer facing these contacts? Sun, wind, serpents, snakes, mosquitoes, flies. Body is deformed by many dangers. It is deformed because therefore it is called form. Now this is the way that we should understand the noble truth of suffering. Supreme Buddha explains, when noble disciples understand the noble truth of suffering, there is an easy way to do that. What is that easy way? One should understand the 5 aggregates of clinging. Then one will understand the noble truth of suffering fully. Next aggregate. And why because do you call it feeling? What is the second aggregate? Feeling. Vedaititiko bhikkave tasma vedanati uchati. In Pali, feeling means vedana. It feels because, therefore it is called feeling. And what does it feel? It feels pleasure, it feels pain, it feels neither pain nor pleasure. It feels. Don't we feel things? These different sensations. How do we feel things? Through our sense bases, right? When we see things, feelings arise. Sometimes pleasant feelings, sometimes unpleasant feelings, sometimes neutral feelings. Can we control this arising of feeling? Saying that I want to feel only pleasant feelings because this is my life. Can you say that? Feeling, just feeling. And why? Because do you call it perception? What is the third aggregate? Sanya. Sanjanati tiko bhikkhave tasma sanyati vucchati. It perceives because, therefore it is called perception. And what does it perceive? It perceives blue. It perceives yellow. It perceives red. It perceives white. What do we perceive? Colors. Now Supreme Buddha gives a very initial, fundamental explanation about the 5 aggregates of clinging to get some sense. Next one. And why? Because do you call them volitional formations? What is the 4th aggregate of clinging? Volitional formations. In Pali, sankhara. There is a very new explanation here about sankhara. They construct the conditioned. Sankhatang abhisankharanti iti tasma sanyati vucchati sankharati vucchati. They construct the conditioned. So think about this excellent knowledge, wisdom of the Supreme Buddha. Now we go to universities, we go to schools, we pass many exams. Is there any teacher that who could explain the life in this way? Sankhara means our thought process is something that constructs the conditioned. Supreme Buddha explains further. And what is the conditioned that they construct? Here Supreme Buddha explains, in this world there are things called conditioned things. because of the union of many causes, things arise. They are called conditioned things. Because they arise dependent on causes and conditions, will they last forever? Are they eternal? No. Why? When causes change, the effects also change. Conditioned things, nature of the conditioned things. One conditioned thing is form, our body. This body has arisen due to causes and conditions. Okay. So how do Sankhara construct this conditioned body? Supreme Buddha explains, this Sankhara construct conditioned form as form. Listen carefully. Supreme Buddha explains, when we live, we think. We use our volitions to think. Don't we? We do. When we use our volitions to think, always something is generated. What is that? Chetanaham bhikkhave kammang vadami. Oh monks, I say volition means kamma. What is generated? Karma. We accumulate karma. As a result of accumulating karma, we will be reborn. Bhava pacchaya jati. Dependent on arranging of karma, birth arises. Beings are born. Right. Volitions. As a result of our thinking process, karma is arranged. As a result, we will get reborn. What's the meaning of rebirth? Another body. Based on this body, when we live, we arrange karma through our volitions. What is the result? Another body. Nothing is special. What kind of body? A body that is deformed again. That is why this understanding of the noble truth of suffering leads to the disenchantment of conditioned things. Disenchantment means wise noble disciples don't delight in future forms. They don't need. Because they know every form is deformed. Even in the heavenly world, in Brahma world, anywhere in this world system, form is deformed. So volitional formations means they construct the conditioned form. They construct conditioned form as form to get another form. That's all what Sankhara can do. That's all karma can do. Giving another birth. Okay. Sankhara construct conditioned feeling as feeling. Experiencing feeling in this life, we generate karma. We will die one day as a result of constructing the condition. We will have a new life. Again, what will we have? Feelings. Pleasant feelings, unpleasant feelings, neutral feelings. They will all disappear quickly. They construct conditioned perception as perception. Perceiving things we think about the objects. We say, oh, it's very nice, delicious, wonderful, very pretty. Okay, volitions, karma. As a result, when we get reborn, we will have another life. Another life means khandanam patubhav, appearance of the 5 aggregates of clinging again. Always we will be on the same boat. They construct conditioned volitional formations as volitional formations. Using our thoughts, we think about many things. We will die, and then when we take rebirth somewhere else, again we will have a mind and we will think. Will we be able to satisfy our life completely? No. We will die there as well, and continuous process of rebirth. That's what sankhara can do. Karma. They construct conditioned consciousness as consciousness. Right? Using our consciousness, when we cognize things, when we know things, we think about them. And we go home and we think, oh, I saw that thing. It's very beautiful. Using our consciousness, we think again and again. Each moment we generate karma, because we think based on our ignorance and craving. So karma is accumulated. We will be reborn again, and then again we will have an eye, ear, nose, tongue, body and mind. We will cognize again. While this process is happening, we will reach old age, experiencing sickness, again death. Okay, so now do you understand the meaning of sankhara here? In the sense of they construct the condition. They construct the condition. This karma cannot construct an unconditioned thing. Karma always can construct only conditioned things that are subject to change. But Noble Eightfold Path can generate an unconditioned thing. What is that? Nibbana is unconditioned. No aging, no rebirth, no sickness, no death, no sorrow, no pain, no lamentation, no death, no change. Why? It is unconditioned. Sankhara can't do that. But the Noble Eightfold Path can do that. Okay, so that is the world's aggregate of sankhara. Next, so Premuda explains with extraordinary knowledge. And why, bhikkhus, do you call it consciousness? What's the Pali word for consciousness? Vijnana. Vijanati tiko bhikkhave tasma vijnananti vuchyati. See now when Arahant Mahinda Bhante was teaching these things, how our ancestors grasped this teaching to become enlightened, because very deep Dhamma. That is how our ancestors touched this Dhamma. Okay, Vijnana. It cognizes because, therefore it is called consciousness. And what does it cognize? It cognizes sour. It cognizes bitter. It cognizes sweet. It cognizes sharp. It cognizes mild. It cognizes salty. This is about the consciousness of tongue. Don't we cognize different tastes? Okay, what does help us to do that? Our consciousness is cognizing process. Differentiate. Oh, now you are experiencing salty. You are experiencing sweet. You are experiencing honey. Right? Consciousness does this. Okay. This is the life. Consists of 5 aggregates of clinging. Now a noble disciple gets some understanding about this life. Okay. Life means body. There is a body. There are feelings. There are perceptions. There are volitional formations. There is consciousness. This is life. They all in a constantly changing process. Because of ignorance, we regard this changing process I am, myself, and mine. As a result, we fall into this cycle of birth and death again and again and again. After this point, Supreme Buddha explains the way out, the way to stop this continuous construction of conditioned. Right? So this life is a conditioned one. 5 aggregates of clinging again and again. Now the solution. To stop what? To stop the obtaining of 5 aggregates of clinging again and again. Do we need to stop that obtaining of 5 aggregates of clinging again and again? First, one should have that necessity, need. Why? That's why one should understand that 5 aggregates of clinging means suffering. Everything is out of my control. My dreams will never come true. That's why they want to stop this process. Okay? For them, there is the instruction of the enlightened one. Therein, because the instructed noble disciple reflects thus: I am now being devoured by form. I am now being devoured by form. I am now being eaten by form. Being chewed by form. Khajjaniya. The name of this sutta is Khajjaniya Sutta. Being devoured. Normally we think we eat food, we eat cake, we eat apples. But here, we are eaten by what? We are eaten by our body. Supreme Buddha explains, a noble disciple thinks, I am now being eaten, devoured by form. In the past too. Okay, let's first understand how we are now being devoured by form. How? Yes. Supreme Buddha explains, many are the sufferings, many are the disadvantages of this body. Form means here body. Since diverse diseases are engendered in this body, such as the following: eye disease, ear disease, nose disease, tongue disease, body disease. Why are these many of hospitals all around the world? Form is devoured by form, yes. Lives are being eaten by diseases. Headache, mumps, mouth disease, toothache, cough, asthma, catarrh, heartburn, fever, stomach ailment, fainting, dysentery, swelling, gripes, leprosy, boils, scrofula, consumption, epilepsy, ringworm, itch, eruption, tetter, fistula, plethora, diabetes, piles, cancer, fistula, and diseases originating from bile, diseases originating from phlegm, diseases originating from wind, diseases originating from conflict of the humors, from changes of weather. Think about when winter comes, how many diseases? Everybody is ready with their deformed forms. Yes, right? From adverse conditions, faulty deportment, using body in dangerous ways, from devices practiced by others, from karma vipaka, some diseases as a result of karma from previous lives. Cold is also a disease. Supreme Buddha explains. Heat is a disease. Hunger is a disease. Thirst is a disease. Going to washrooms is also a disease. Excrement and urine. Right? So, we are being devoured by form, our body. Should we cling to this body then? This is my excellent body. We decorate it. We show off. We appreciate it highly. That is why we haven't yet escaped from this suffering. Okay. So how does a noble disciple reflect? I am now being devoured by form, eaten by form. He thinks further. In the past too, I was devoured by form in the very same way that I am now being eaten by present form. Now we talked about past lives. In our previous lives also we had beautiful bodies as kings, princes, dancers, actors, actresses, right? We had beautiful bodies. What happened to them? They also face the same destiny. And he reflects further. If I were to seek delight in future form, seek delight in future form means thinking about future life, in the future, and even in this present life, in the future, I would have such a body, long hair, beautiful eyes, right? Bright skin. Don't people think that way? Right. in the future. If I were to seek delight in future form, I would enjoy form in the future in this way, in that way. I would seek delight in form. Then in the future too, I shall be devoured by form. I shall be eaten by form in the very same way that I am now being devoured by present form. What will happen to that future form? It also will give immense suffering to us. Think about people in the hospitals, how they suffer, how they lament. Do we have a special kind of life? No, we don't know. Maybe tomorrow we will have to lie on the bed in a hospital. This did not happen only one time to us. We have been experiencing this in uncalculable times. Right? That is why Supreme Buddha had great compassion. Important to understand this as well about form, how we are devoured by form. Because otherwise we will have to live with delusional lives. That's not going to help us giving true happiness. This is an example explained by the Buddha. Monks, suppose there were a girl in her 15th or 16th year, neither too tall nor too short, neither too thin nor too fat, neither too dark nor too fair. Is she beautiful? The Supreme Buddha asked the monks, is she beautiful? Is her beauty and loveliness then at its height? Yes, Bhante. Because later on, one might see that same girl here at 80, 90 or 100 years, aged, as crooked as a roof bracket, doubled up, supported by a walking stick, tottering, frail, her youth gone, her teeth broken, grey-haired, scanty-haired, bald. Right? What happens to decorating things? Disappeared. Wrinkled. Bright skin is wrinkled. With limbs all blotchy. Black dots everywhere. No cream, no use of anything. Okay. What do you think, because has her former beauty and loveliness vanished and the danger become evident? Think about the suffering that we are going to face in the future. When we have this destiny in the future, is it suffering or happiness? Suffering. This is not the first time that we are going to face that. That's why one should stop this cycle. Again, one might see that same woman, afflicted, suffering and gravely ill, lying fouled in her own urine and excrement. Now, is there a beautiful girl? Very old grandmother. Lifted up by some and set down by others. Won't this happen to us? Surely. What do you think, because has her former beauty and loveliness vanished and the danger become evident? Yes, Bhante. This is how we are being devoured by form, our own form. Again, one might see that some woman as a corpse thrown aside in a charnel ground, What has happened to her? He has passed away. One, now where is her house? Beautiful house, mansion? Yeah, a cemetery under the ground, mixing with soil. 1, 2, or 3 days dead, blotted, livid, and oozing matter. Or from all the openings of the life, body, this will happen to us. What do you think? Because what has happened to her? He has been devoured by her form. Again, because one might see that same woman as a corpse thrown aside in a charnel ground, being devoured by crows, hogs, vultures, dogs, jackals, and various kinds of worms. Again, one might see that same woman as a skeleton after some time, with flesh and blood held together with sinews. After some time, a fleshless skeleton smeared with blood. A skeleton without flesh and blood, right? Gradually, it changes. And one might see her with disconnected bones scattered in all directions. Here a head bone, there a foot bone, here a thigh bone, there a rib bone, here a hip bone, there a backbone, here the skull, bones bleed, okay? Scattered everywhere. What has happened? Form has been devoured by, yes, we have been devoured by our form. And then gradually the skeleton will turn into bones, bleached white, the color of shells, and bones heaped up more than a year old. Then bones rotted and crumbled to dust, a part of the ground. Where is me? Where is I am? Where is myself? This is what we should understand. Supreme Buddha explained with extraordinary knowledge. Now he has this understanding. Having reflected thus, how? That reflection is very important. I am now being devoured by form. Next one. In the past too, I was devoured by form in the very same way that I am now being devoured by present form. Present form is with this present body. Next reflection. If I were to seek delight in future form, then in the future too I shall be devoured by form in the very same way that I am now being devoured by present form. I am now being eaten by present form. If we think about going to heaven and enjoy heavenly pleasures, that heavenly body also will be devoured till change. Having reflected thus about present form, past form, and future form, he becomes indifferent towards past form. He does not seek delight in future form. He becomes indifferent towards past form means he doesn't want to think about the past. Oh, I had a wonderful life in the past. See, look at my pictures and photos. See, I was very, very pretty when I was young. She does not want to be deluded like that, right? Becomes indifferent. He does not seek delight in future form. Why? She knows what will happen in the future, what will happen to the future form. He or she is practicing for revulsion towards present form, for its fading away and cessation. If one wants to stop obtaining numerous bodies in the future that are subject to destruction, one should practice this Dhamma to understand the true nature of this present body. That's why mindfulness and meditation practice comes. Okay? So that is how one should understand which aggregate? The form aggregate of clinging. Now, didn't Supreme Buddha explain very well why we shouldn't cling to this form? Supreme Buddha explained very clearly. So in the same way, Supreme Buddha explains, a noble disciple reflects, I am now being devoured by feeling, devoured by perception, devoured by volitional formations, and being devoured by consciousness. What is the meaning here? Devouring by these mental aggregates. In the same way, even though we think that we experience wonderful things, pleasant things, they will not last long and they will become otherwise. So our own feeling like hit us, right? Suppose we are experiencing something wonderful, all of a sudden what happens? It changes. It's like that feeling hit us. Okay. So in this case, to a noble disciple thinks, I don't, if I, now I am being devoured by feeling, perception, volitions, consciousness. So in the past too, I was devoured by these things in the very same way that I am now being devoured in the present feeling, perception, volitions and consciousness. If I were to seek delight in future feelings, future perceptions, future volitions, future consciousness, then in the future too I shall be eaten by these things. I shall be destroyed. I shall be punished by these things. They are not my friends. These five aggregates are not our friends. They are like enemies. Aren't they? If this body can put us on a bed in a hospital, will a friend do that? No, it's like an enemy. This body is going to give us a walking stick. Okay, go with this for the rest of your life. Like an enemy. I will be punished by the aggregates. So, having reflected thus, he or she becomes indifferent towards past feelings, past perceptions, past volitions, and past consciousness. He or she does not seek delight in future feelings, future perceptions, future volitions, future consciousness. Meaningless. And he or she is practicing for revulsion, to understand the meaningless nature of these things for its fading away and cessation. That is the way. That is the way out. So we can use this present body, present feeling, present perception, present volitions and present consciousness to understand our whole journey. Why we should understand that? To cling to them? No, to become disenchanted, to give up desires, to give up craving, to give up hopes, to give up wishes. And then Supreme Buddha explained, so you should contemplate impermanence of these 5 aggregates of clinging, suffering and non-self nature. That is the meditation we do normally, insight meditation. So it comes after that explanation. Seeing thus, because the instructed noble disciple experiences revulsion towards 5 aggregates of clinging, experiencing revulsion, he becomes dispassionate, abandon passion, craving towards the 5 aggregates of clinging. Through dispassion, his or her mind is liberated. When it is liberated, there comes the knowledge it is liberated. He understands destroyed is birth. What happened? Destroyed is birth means stopped rebirth. Stopped rebirth means stopped the process of obtaining what? 5 aggregates of clinging. Finished. The holy life has been lived. What had to be done has been done. There is no more for this state of being. There is no rebirth anymore in this cycle. End of suffering. Khajjaniya Sutta from Samyutta Nikaya. May all of us have the opportunity to understand the true nature of the noble truth of suffering, the 5 aggregates of clinging, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana, end of suffering, in this Gautama Buddha.
Namo Buddhaya, dear parents. There is an extremely helpful and resourceful podcast that you and your children should listen to. It is podcast 89, part 2, Miss Suffering. In this podcast, you will learn about an ascetic whose practice was to stand on one leg during daytime and eat excrement in the night. He gave up all his wrong views and even became an arahant once he met the Blessed One.
We now do not have the Supreme Buddha to help us as for that ascetic, but his teachings to help us to give up any wrong views we have. We strongly encourage you and your children to listen to these podcasts as we do and find the real refuge in the Buddha to overcome all sufferings and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana.
Namo Buddhaya.